Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Big West Mafia Show, part of the College Football Mafia Network. I am your host, Sergeant Pickles, and with me is my excellent guest host, Becky Go Huskies. How we doing, Becky?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Just another beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest where it's sunny 1 minute and then hails, size of pennies the next and pelts my car, and I'm worried about the windshield breaking. But all of our Midwest fans know about highly variable weather. Uh, Thank you so much for being here. Got some early people in the chat. Just wanted to say hello to some of our fantastic College Football Mafia members: Nathan Campbell, Timothy Green, Nathan, hello. Laura Weiss, one of our Weiss or Weiss, depending on how German you are, like I am today. One of our Texas Tech fans, Donnie McNerney, Ryan. It's our Wisconsin Badger man who was having a fun chat with me about what the Wisconsin UW rivalry should be in the future. Edward Wayner, Rock Chalk 94, Jayhawk fan, and Joaquin Morales. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We try to get to all member chats as we go along, but super chats I 100% guarantee will be read. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Subscribe and follow Big West Mafia and College Football Mafia, and all of our other great contributors and their shows are going to be scrolling down links at the bottom. And we'll roll right into it. So it's been kind of with the show title. It's been a quiet week, but I can feel the tension in the air with everything going on. How's it felt to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely quiet, but it feels like something's coming. It's like a calm before the storm.
Yeah, definitely so. And normally, off seasons are fairly boring. Full admission, I'm not a big basketball guy. All my Big 12 people and college basketball people, you are, in the throes of excitement going into March Madness, but that is not my jam. I'm not going to profess to know anything about college basketball. And for us college football fans, it's a little bit of the dark time. So we have to kind of pick through the weeds and find some, find some gems out there, because I do think there are interesting things going on, like you said, but it's kind of happening, behind closed doors at this point. And just an interesting one that I saw pop up that's definitely going to pertain to Big Ten West schools is, one second here, is that it looks like Fox will be adding primetime Friday games. They want a little bit of that previous Pac-12 after dark action going on. And as you and I both suspect, Oregon, Washington, and UCLA will be heavily featured. I'm sure the USC folks will say that they're too special to be featured on a Friday, but just kind of what's your take going into this? And do you think we're going to get shoved into these Friday games a little bit too much for our liking?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even include UCLA with us. It's really going to be Oregon and Washington. That's what they were grabbed for. I would even suspect that if like Florida State or somebody comes along here in the next couple of years, they'll be thrown into that slate. So it's definitely going to be a thing. But I mean, if anybody watched Big Noon, it essentially stayed out west or out east for the most part all year. I don't even know if it came anywhere past the state of Texas anyway. But yeah, if it's not the Big Ten schools, it will 100% be all of those Big 12 schools. And I will say this, like Washington will be the two schools that get featured the most from the Big 12, from the Big 10, but every single school in the Big 12 is fair game. Whereas Big 10, USC and certain schools, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, they'll never be featured.
Yeah, I mean, to me, immediately what came to my mind is, their definition of primetime, I'm assuming, would still accommodate for the East Coast. So it's not impossible you're going to see, but they want the main, Saturday headliners to be the Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. They want to be your premier brands. And it's understandable that your newcomers, as part of the deal, you're going to get put on maybe some less favorable time slots. But it's kind of funny because Big Ten fans may see this and be like, oh, all the crap teams are going to play on Friday and no one wants to be there. former Pac-12 fans probably look at it and say, oh, this is a better version of Pac-12 After Dark because it's going to be on a network where people give a crap about us and it'll promote the game, and it'll be on, not midnight East Coast time. It'll actually be on. So it's a double-edged sword, but I'm choosing to take the positive road on that one.
Yeah, I'm choosing to be positive about it as well. But those Friday night Pac-12 games were something. They're always something.
They were a spectacle to behold. They have kind of somewhat legendary status among certain fans, including Maction? They got the Midwest fans in Maction.
Yes.
Yeah, Maction. It's like everyone who watched the games loved it because you saw some incredible stuff that you didn't expect, but not a lot of people did watch. So it's, kind of folklorish in that way. Rock Chalk 94 here. It kind of, I think, alluding to your comment with the Big 12 being included. If Big 12 dies, it's because of the money. I agree. If you're talking in a more general sense, I actually think Big 12 being on primetime Fridays would be great. That's a featured time slot. If you're a standalone game on a Friday, you're not competing really with other major sports outside of basketball, hockey, whatever, but those are going on regardless. You're not necessarily going head to head against another premier football product. The NFL doesn't seem to have any intention of playing on Fridays currently. So I agree. If Big 12 dies, it'll be because of the money. And a quick teaser for later, we will definitely touch on the Dellinger article that goes a lot more into that.
I do want to say, the biggest thing with the Big 12, those Friday nights, that's high school football day. So that if there's any competition whatsoever, that's what they're competing with.
Yeah, a lot of Texas-based Big 12 fans may be upset. That's their secondary religion behind their college teams for sure.
I mean, we everybody calls it the truck stop conference or whatever. Certain people used it derogatory, but in all fairness, those small towns, they all turn out for high school football. So that's
it may be a smaller population center, but the concentration of fans that care about football is way higher than you would ever expect. It really is still a community event, even into some of these bigger cities from, friends of mine that are Southern and Texas football fans.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So you got some more of our fantastic members coming in. Bob, if I didn't mention you before, hello, Bob. Rock Chalk's firing it up in chat. Thank you, as always, for contributing. Glenn Lumen, good morning from the Philippines. Good morning, Glenn. Hope you're having a relaxing Mai Tai on the beach, although I'm sure that there's a lot more going on in the morning in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah. I just had a friend who was in the Philippines. He just flew out to Cambodia, I guess.
Yeah, I've never been. It looks beautiful. I've had the privilege to go to Thailand, and I've heard the Philippines is much the same, but even better, according to some opinions. So I'd love to maybe go pay our friend Glenn a visit there.
No, you get a chance, go to the Philippines. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. That way I can chat. I can be a real trooper and call into the shows just like Glenn does in the mornings. Alrighty, and another one. Everyone knows that I don't know if everyone knows, but everyone who talks to me knows I'm pretty excited about NCAA 25. I've not been a huge video gamer in the past, but it seems like how all-encompassing this is going to be in terms of you can literally run a league, break a league, move players, like you can run the whole deal if you want, is really exciting to me. And it seems like they really went out of their way to get the details right. And I saw previously in the week that a lot of the, awards, which are sponsored by these kind of groups and everything, they're separated, were not going to participate. But the Heisman kind of one-upped all of them and said, yeah, we're the premier award in college football. We're going to be in it. But the Biletnikoff, et cetera, declined. What are your thoughts about that?
I just thought it was weird. I don't know why, can anybody really name an award other than the Heisman? No.
I'm a nerd, so Biletnikoff, Outland, Joe Moore, etc. We all know. I think people more so know what, maybe not the name of the award, but usually what it's for.
And you usually hear it after the fact, but the Heisman's the one that gets talked about the most.
Yeah,
but
the Heisman is known as like the MVP award, so everyone knows it. But I'm a nerd, so I know the Outland, the Biletnikoff, the Ray guy, etc.
I'm a little disappointed that the Heisman's participating. I did want to see the Theismann Trophy awarded.
Oh no.
Anybody knows Joe Theismann changed his name?
Goodness.
School, but it is like I just want to see them like MVP, college MVP. You know, it would have been great. Now you just have wide receiver of the year. Like it's, come on, give me Biletnikoff. Like,
yeah, maybe Chad could give us a hand. But my other fun idea is I hope they give us the ability to name the award ourselves for all the other ones, so it's not the Heisman, and you can come up with the most likely to punt on third down award or whatever. I hope they give us that level of ridiculous creativity.
That'd be great. Like if I can call it the like I forgot my mouthpiece award and give it to like the top running back in the nation.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of prop bets and goofy things like that. So hopefully we see it.
Same.
Got our good friend Nathan Campbell. Do you think Amazon Prime, TBS, TNT, True TV will be new? I'm assuming will be the new Big 12 TV partners. It's hard to say because all of the, as far as I know, the TV contracts are staggered so that the Big 12 comes up first before the Big 10 and SEC. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me in chat and just off the top of my head. And there's a pro and con to being first is that the money hasn't necessarily dried up, but all those other major partners are committed to the Big 10, the SEC, and who knows, the SEC or the SEC, I said it instinctively for ESPN. ESPN may have open slots pending what happens with the ACC, so that's another opportunity for the Big 12. And we are seeing more moves towards streaming. I know the Big 10 is going to keep having Peacock games. They're going to have, additional things, but I think once you see kind of a critical mass where multiple games are on a streaming platform, more people will tune into it. If they don't already have it, it'll just kind of become a normal thing. I don't see it ever replacing cable, but I do think it kind of becomes a supplement.
Yeah, I agree. It's so hard to tell because TBS, TNT, and that are all owned by Warner Brothers. So Max, if you have Max, then okay, I can watch soccer. I believe the national teams is what they have. Obviously, TNT shows NHL and NBA.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, and obviously they have made a deal along with CBS to get the first couple of rounds of the tournament so that every game can air at, because they all air at the same time. Now you can watch, 4 games at once.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like the ability to flip back and forth on cable TV and just have the last button and you just kind of scroll through games when one goes to commercial. If they can find a way to integrate that with their streaming games, I think that's the big breakthrough where I can say, hey, I'm on Fox Sports and I can flip on my device or whatever immediately to the Peacock game and back. If they can figure out how to smooth that out, you've got a big money proposition.
Yeah, because I mean, like as far as it goes, like if you have YouTube TV, you can watch 4 games at once, and they let you actually choose your games now. Right. But you still have to, like you said, you have to click completely out to go to like Prime or Peacock or Paramount Plus. As Big Ten fans will know, Big Ten is on Paramount Plus and Peacock, so they'll have streaming only games.
Yeah, it definitely seems like we're seeing not like a lot of consolidation of packaging where they're talking about, Fox Sports and ESPN are talking about coming together and just having like an all-encompassing streaming platform. I think that, if you're paying for 15 different streaming services just to watch certain games, it gets a little unwieldy, but if they can streamline that, it would absolutely be a better product.
I would also say this to Big 12 fans. I know there's probably some folks definitely have that there's that slight fear, I think we could call it, that money will dry up. The best shot that they have at this point, if say Fox or ESPN decide, you know what, we don't want to pay for you guys, because that is a real possibility. I know the NFL and that is up around that same time frame. So it gets a little it gets sketchy once money starts really, how much money is there and all this. But just watch as much of your games as you can. It doesn't matter if you don't like the team. Watch those games. Force their hand. And if Warner Brothers sees that value, Amazon sees that value, and even Apple sees that value, they're going to come. And I got to tell you, I think Apple's not done.
Yeah.
So I would say Apple's going to definitely 100% be, they're a player.
Yeah, they're definitely lurking in the shadows. And our friend Bob Swanger right here, he says he agrees with you. Friday nights are for high school football. I'm not sure what part of the country you're from, Bob, but I know that that's certainly the sentiment many places in the country. That's a time-honored tradition. Timothy Green, another a member of College Football Mafia, truly hope that Big 12 does not fold. Honestly, I'd like to see the ACC stay together as well. So how is everything on the West Coast? We don't have a conference anymore. Well, it's in pieces rather. So the West Coast been better. Not too bad for Washington as it stands, but yeah, West Coast football is certainly in a state of flux. Timothy, I'd be curious to see what your follow-up would be. It would benefit the Big 12 immensely to have the ACC break apart and absorb some of those schools. So I'm really curious what you would want, if you want the ACC to stay exactly how it is, if you want to cherry pick a couple of teams, or if you just think that they'll survive in some altered form rather than what they are now.
What's weird about like the big, that question is like the four schools that are in the Big Ten are like, oh, we're good and all this. It's now we're seeing like Big 12 fans. Now they're starting to worry, is Utah getting a wandering eye? Is Arizona going to have a wandering eye? Will Kansas have a wandering eye? Like, once you see what Florida State's doing and you're not in the power two, you start to question everything. And I was like, if the Pac-12 had survived like as the 12 magically, I would be like, once Florida State sued, I'd be like, we're probably gonna be in that boat soon.
The Pac-12 was always going to be in a precarious situation, no matter if they stayed together or not. That's just the reality. I mean, it was like that for more than a decade, as you and I know. So I think, sadly, we faced the inevitable with maybe not its total collapse in the way it did, but just the sectioning off of brands that the TV networks wanted. It's unfortunate, but it's, we've seen that's the trend in every move in recent history. Alrighty, got a few more subscriber comments here. I think NFL expands internationally. They will add more Friday games, like upcoming game in Brazil. Playing overseas allows NFL to sidestep Broadcasting Act by restricting Friday evenings. I'm not familiar with said Broadcasting Act from 1962. I'm not sure how that would apply to college football or the NFL necessarily, if that's something that was meant to not compete with high school football. But there's plenty of sporting events that play on Fridays, so I'm not sure how much that encompasses, Edward.
Yeah,
Becky, are you familiar with this Broadcasting Act at all?
No, I'd have to look. I'd have to Google it. I have never even heard of it.
You may have to enlighten us in chat, otherwise it'll be a fun Google afterwards. Thank you for that comment, though, Edward.
Thank you, Edward.
Alrighty, so another one. I was actually very, very excited about this because I thought it was going to lead to a bigger shift. However, our excellent reporter Nicole Auerbach, college football December signing period moved up to Wednesday before conference championships. 3 days, officially approved, and I cannot be happier. It's not like a total hallelujah. It's totally fixed. Everything's great now. The spring period, I guess, is still being argued upon by the powers that be. But the timetable of signing day was so broken in terms of where the transfer portal is and where, early signing day is. I wish they would separate them completely and basically have a dead period during the majority of the season, which they somewhat do. But it's, as we've seen recently, it's unrestricted free agency. We see players right now announcing they're in the spring portal, which doesn't open for weeks. And they're already saying, oh, yeah, no, I'm in the portal right now. And we don't think that the other schools are going to give them a call, under the table. it's totally out of control. But this is a step in the right direction for me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, NFL free agency started today. I think we need what the NFL has for college football. I think it's just the smarter way to do it, especially as these guys start to really get paid, aside from NIL. But yeah, I think 3 days, it's much better. It's always been weird to me how you can sign your national letter of intent, and then they have signing day, and then like 2 weeks later, they have another signing day, and you're like, I don't understand what's going on. And you never knew when it was opening, or they just, hey, it's National Letter of Intent Day, and you're like, now we know when it is.
Yeah.
Wednesday before conference championship games. That is, those coaches that are preparing teams for the conference championship games aren't, they're not going to really be paying attention to those kids. So
yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, traditionally, though, teams like that have enough assistants and general staff. They got people coming out of the woodwork to secure all their recruits for them. Alabama famously in their, assistant to the assistant to the assistant, and their only job is go get this one player, and they have 50 million people on staff. But yeah, it seems like it's a huge disadvantage to conference champions, but I almost think in the end it really didn't matter. We just needed some clarity on this. I think, like you say, and they need a separation where it's clear, it's at this time, it's every year. And you and I am, not that old, and neither are you. We're old enough to remember when signing day really meant something. It was really exciting. See, yes, our class is here, or bummer, it's here. But now it's like the class gets signed. I'm like, okay, it'll change by next week. So what's it worth?
Yeah,
I don't know how we're going to do that in the era of employee players, but a return to actually feeling like a commitment is worth something is what I would like to see for sure.
No, I'm old enough to remember that you didn't know who the players were.
Yeah,
like there
was no internet to check on them either.
There's nothing. You just go, okay. You look in the newspaper and they go, we signed these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know who any of these people are. And then you go watch them play. Like my favorite growing up was like everybody who grew up in Seattle knew who Corey Dillon was. He was a really good running back at Franklin High School here in Seattle. Tore it up. But everybody knew he did not go to class. he had to go to junior college to just get into the University of Washington. So, and then
that was definitely the norm back then, where the depth chart came out in the Sunday paper on hard print, and that's how you realized who these guys were. You didn't even know half the team until they were sophomores or juniors when they were actually playing. You didn't know a single freshman's name.
You didn't know what they looked like. You didn't know you barely knew their name, and some of these schools had no names on the back. So you're like, I don't even know who that kid is. You had to actually get the pamphlet that they hand out at the spring games just to see who the players were. So
yeah, I'm gonna say a quick shout out to our good friend and subscriber Mooncat and the Wisconsin Badger Ryan Willie, our UW rival counterpart. I don't like games on Fridays. Well, Ryan, prepare to watch Wisconsin versus Washington on a Friday, coming to a stadium near you soon. Yeah, it would actually be fun to watch a game at Camp Randall on a Friday.
I just want us to have a trophy game for that one, the Battle of the W.
Battle of the W. Yeah, we got to. I've been really brainstorming this, as part of our off-season come up with content challenge. Coming up with a shameless thing. I stole the idea from Nicole Auerbach and her podcast. They came up with some future rivalries and gave them goofy nicknames and trophy ideas. I want to come up with a few more of those, because the Wisconsin-Washington ones need something better than just the real UW or Battle for UW. Ryan, help us out there. Come up with something good for that rivalry.
I like the Battle of the W. And then the trophy is literally just a W. It's both W's, because theirs is different.
Yeah. As you pointed out, though, West Coast bias. I think Washington has always been UW and Wisconsin is UW. I don't normally hear them called UW, but not a Big Ten fan traditionally, not a Midwest guy. So my friends out there in chat, help me out.
No, my brother's wife went to Wisconsin. She's from Green Bay. and she calls it UW.
Interesting.
He calls it UW, and she goes, "Oh, She goes, "Well, we're UW." It's been a very fun little thing for them now.
Yeah, we'll sort that out on the field, I believe, in 2025.
Yes, we will.
All right, our friend Timothy Green. I went from cable to satellite, from satellite to streaming. There are more sports channels on streaming, such as Hulu Plus, than any other subscription I had, including ESPN Plus. That's the same with myself. I cut the cord and went to Sling TV and let's say some alternate technology that tells it where I'm located in a place different than I am, so I don't get blacked out. But if you have those items, you're basically able to watch any sporting event known to man, because for whatever reason, the streamers, it seems like, make it really easy for out-of-market viewers to watch their teams. But because of blackout restrictions, they don't want, there's still a lot of blackout restrictions. I think blackout restrictions are silly, because if you're going to go to the stadium, you're going to go. I don't think the people that are just going, or the people that want to watch it on TV, they're just going to do that. I don't think it really comes to whether or not there's a blackout.
Yeah, everybody finds a way, but I've been a very big, like, I've never understood the point of ESPN Plus when you can't watch 90% of what's on ESPN Plus unless it's
right.
And not to be mean, but like most of those broadcasts on ESPN Plus are just like student made and they're trash. So.
Yeah, definitely. All righty, folks, we're gonna try out something new. We've seen some comments out there that we've perhaps been neglecting our former west of the Rockies friends and college partners out there. So we're going to come up with some silly gimmick, I'm sure, to intro it, but we're going to start doing the Mountain West Minute, where we feed you any tidbits and things out there from our Mountain West friends, including Washington State, Oregon State, and even our Four Corners friends leaving us for the Big 12. So first among which, to start it out, I was very, very interested to see. Oh, goodness, I've lost it now. There are only 6 teams with an AP top 10 win in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball this previous season. And a surprise team on that list of the 6 are good friends, the Oregon State Beavers. I'm not sure if I knew that. I was trying to rack my brain for the top 10 football win, Becky. Do you know it off top of head?
I have no idea.
I don't either, because they didn't beat the Huskies or the Ducks, to my knowledge. But according to this, Duke. Shout out to Kansas. I mean, good gracious, we knew their basketball would be good, but their football team has actually become legitimate. They are very Oregon State-ish, where the fans are passionate. They were down for a long time, but they're starting to rack up wins against prominent teams. And then you see the traditional good teams, Ohio State, Texas, people that you would expect in there. But yeah, our Mountain West friends getting a little love and showing dominance in both football and basketball. So good for our friends, the Oregon State Beavers.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe it was Utah. No, I don't think Utah was ranked at that point.
I actually hate the way that they count ranked wins, even if later on the team is no longer ranked. I think that's a little silly, but neither here nor there.
I'm trying to figure it out because I don't remember them playing anybody outside of Oregon and Washington that were in the top 10. If somebody knows in the chat, let us know, please. Because I know they played Arizona, but Arizona I don't think they cracked the top 10, and I think Arizona beat them. So,
Indeed.
Although I am shocked that Washington's on that list, not because of our women's team, but
yeah. For those who don't know out there, Washington is currently let go of their men's head coach. And a lot of fans were calling for it much, much, much sooner than it occurred.
Yeah, I mean, like Joe Burke said, San Diego State's the best basketball program out west, but
man, all those Big 12 teams, BYU, and I can't Big 12 basketball. Again, not a basketball guy, just going to stay in my lane, but I can acknowledge that conference top to bottom is crazy. I think they have something like 7 or 8 ranked teams.
Yeah, it's deep. I mean, it's deep, but do they have the national champ? That'll be the question.
Well, yeah, that always comes down to top end recruiting, etc. We all like the Cinderella stories, but we like them because they're not very frequent.
I personally thought Houston was going to be kind of this year, but no.
Number one
in the nation, number one in the country.
Don't become another Virginia. At least make it a few rounds, Houston. Yeah, do yourselves proud.
Don't pull a Virginia and a Purdue.
Yeah, do not pull a Virginia.
Although I have told people this, that I want only conference champions do not deserve to be the 16th seed, no matter how bad they were. They won their conference. I want to see at-larges playing the 1 seeds. So you could see a game one day with an at-large Kentucky playing number 1 like Kansas.
That's how I felt about my 16-team college football format, and people were nonetheless pleased that SMU would have been hosting Oregon. I think you can imagine which friends of ours were not pleased about that.
Yeah.
All right, our good friend Tony Lashin, not a member. What happened, Tony? Come on now. I get it. Times are tough. But if you support the channel, we're putting out good stuff out there for you. Friday night games on Big Fox. Best thing since sliced bread. Big fan of the Friday games. I saw Ryan, our Badger friend, don't like games on Friday. So mixed bag from Big Ten fans in our chat so far about whether they like Friday or not. I bet you most of them would enjoy watching a Friday game, but perhaps not their team being on Friday.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this as getting down to Mott Lake on a Friday for a 5:00 game is brutal.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll take it over 7 p.m. though.
I will take it over 7 p.m., but a 5 p.m. game, the traffic sucks.
Yeah. Thankfully, our public transportation is getting much better, and you can take to all our visiting friends coming up to Washington for a game. The airport, there's a light rail that goes from the airport directly to the stadium, and there's hotels in between. So don't rent a car. Don't sit in Seattle traffic. It's terrible. There are other ways to get there, thankfully.
Yeah, just take the light rail, take the bus, take an Uber.
I believe we just expressed how Washington folks feel about 5 p.m. Pacific kickoffs on a Friday. For going to the stadium, not fun, but you're talking to people that live through Pac-12 after dark, where it was 7 p.m. local time when it kicked off. And if the whatever event on ESPN ran late, they would push the kickoff back. They wouldn't run the football game on time. Apologies, my dogs are attacking an intruder. But yeah, they would push back kickoff times, and you would be past midnight with some of these Pac-12 games. It was crazy times.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going to they were at Lumen Field back in 2012 because the stadium was being remodeled, and getting there. Thankfully, you could take light rail there. They didn't have it extended yet to the stadium, the Husky Stadium. But yeah, if I hadn't done it, it would have been like, I lived south of the city at the time. It would have been like a 45-minute drive. I only go about 7 miles.
Indeed. Another, I know we've kind of gotten back and forth and off track, but another fun thing here. Big 12 fans, don't hate me. I'm actually giving you a compliment, but I enjoy the Sickos Committee Twitter account. They put out some pretty funny stuff. And this is now the NCAA all-time skiing champions. And goodness gracious, future Big 12. It is exactly who you think it is that would be good at NCAA skiing, but absolute dominance by the Big 12 in NCAA skiing championships going forward.
I think I'm a little surprised Utah's only won one men's title, and it's been over 40 years.
I believe, from what I could glean from this chart, they went to co-ed at a certain point, and now they're all co-ed.
So, either way, I'm still surprised there was only one.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Denver, Utah, I mean, we can ask our friends Wild Ute and Nate. They've lived down there for quite a long time. Utah was a very different place not too many years ago. A lot less people, and the schools, were a lot less student body than I think they have today. Yeah, people don't realize Utah has been really good in the Pac-12. They came out of nowhere, but they were prepared for it. They had the right coach at the right time and a really, really excellent fan base. They were in the Mountain West in 2011. that's not, ages ago. They were a G5 school, and they've really shown what's possible when you step into a big conference and take advantage of your opportunities.
Yeah. I mean,
they're the anti-Nebraska.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was like the big thing to look at when everybody's talking about teams moving into the Big 12 from the G5 was Utah and TCU's success, because they didn't have it right away. It took a minute to kind of like get going. But once they got going, they really kind of steamrolled a little bit, because it took a couple of seasons. TCU got it going first, but when Utah and then they disappeared for a minute, and then Utah, they just didn't have the depth to play with the Pac-12 schools at the time, and it showed up a lot. And then when they finally did, all right, they're pretty good. And then they get over the hump, and then they finally got over the hump. They did something. I know that they did something in less than 10 years that Arizona had never done.
Yeah, absolutely.
40 plus years of being in that, and that's make a Rose Bowl. So.
Big. I mean, they didn't win one, but neither here nor there. Making a Rose Bowl is a big deal.
Yeah, but they lost. They lost a really close game to Ohio State. It was it was a good game, and then obviously
Washington lost 3 straight major bowls. Like we've been there. We know it sucks. Yeah, I'm
like it happens, but Washington didn't win their first couple of games in the big.
But it's in this realignment world. If you have the right coach, like Big 12 fans, brace for Kyle Whittingham. That dude is legit. I actually have him as a top 10 coach in the country. You may dislike Utah fans, but his teams, win or lose, make it an absolute war. So it'll be exciting stuff. We'll probably see them on a Friday. Be exciting.
And as you said, brush up on your Polynesian.
Yes, bro.
Names. The Polynesian names, they get long and they get harder and harder to pronounce the more schools you have, and now you have
our Big 10 and Big 12 fans, brush up on your Polynesian pronunciations. A lot of vowels. Just work with us here.
Yeah. I mean, BYU's already got them, but Utah's bringing them in now too.
Our good friend Nathan Campbell, Becky, TNT, and TBS are fixing rebrand. Turn the streaming side of the brand will be True TV.
I wonder if that's a part of that whole ESPN Fox thing, because I know Warner Brothers is a part of that. But
all of those, I believe, are the Turner assets.
That's the Warner Brothers stuff. That's
okay.
But I'm wondering if it's the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, these are all. I don't know if they want to keep it separate. Like all of these, obviously, are involved with the NBA. Has been their headlining product. So
I gotta cut you off, because we have breaking news from Ryan, our friend Ryan. In the super chat.
Right.
This is not a good thing. Hold up.
Wait, what?
It says beer is only sold in premium seating area at Camp Randall. They don't want drunk students.
What on earth?
Thank you for the super chat. But 2, this is Wyoming. What? Hold on.
Ryan. What on earth are we talking? Beer is only sold in premium seating area. Okay. If the premium seating area is 90% of the stadium, we're fine. But Husky Stadium was this way for a long time until fans had just had enough and demanded it be changed.
I want to point out, when you buy alcohol, like not beer, but like actual alcohol, it's not measured in Seattle. It is poured. Like what are we talking about here? Because I don't mind like the tailgating and then coming in.
I mean,
maintain it once I'm in. This is not right.
Wisconsin, people from Wisconsin are legendary for their beer and alcohol drinking abilities. I think per capita they drink the most beer per capita per state of anyone in the country. So something tells me that beer not being sold or premium at Camp Randall really doesn't have an effect on drunk students. But Ryan, appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chat and supporting the show. I hope to make a trip to Camp Randall to find that out myself, and I will be just as disappointed when yours truly, who can't afford premium, cannot buy beer.
I'm already upset about this.
Yeah, you've lost a lot of potential visitors to Camp Randall.
I think I'm more upset now that when I go to Wisconsin, I got to pay more to drink. I was already prepared for this to be cheap.
Well,
pay more for the actual seat.
Yeah, it's all about the experience. You got to, maybe they don't want everyone just projectile hurling when they do jump around. That I would understand.
I would get it then. I mean, I want to do the jump around thing. That's my
Our friend Ryan earlier said he wants Kansas in the Big Ten. All right. And Tony immediately disagreeing with him. If you know their fan bases, that makes perfect sense. FSU and Clemson to the Big Ten. Tony, I'm kind of with you on that one. Wild Ute has really turned my perception of Clemson around. We knew they were a football power, but I put a lot of faith in his breakdowns. He's a very objective guy. And I think FSU and Clemson to the Big Ten makes a lot of sense. FSU seems like a no-brainer. Things can happen, but if you take those two, it's really hard to dispute how the Big Ten doesn't have more total very strong football brands in the SEC. You could still say the cream of the crop of the SEC is better, but that's, 8 or 9 really, really solid football programs that are now competing in the Big Ten, if you add those two, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a little like, I'm warming up to Clemson. I am more of I would like to see, might want to go to Miami and have a reason to go to Miami.
Yeah. I have been told that Tallahassee should not be confused with Miami, but that was from Miami fans. Tallahassee is a crap hole in the middle of the swamp. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like a place.
I've never been to Tallahassee. I've been to Jacksonville, and I've been to Pensacola. I've been to Tampa. I've been to Fort Lauderdale, Key West. But Pensacola is so close to Tallahassee that I don't even care. I'll just stay in Pensacola.
We can make it work. I'd be more than happy.
I'm going to make it work.
As long as it's not a start of the season September game and it's 100 degrees, 100% humidity, you got me all in with that one.
I'm good with it. It's still not Orlando and it's still not Gainesville.
Yep. So. Absolutely. Oh, shoot. What did I do now? Got it all mucked up.
You broke it.
So I just want to say thank you so much to all our subscribers and members for being here. Thank you, Ryan, for the super chats. We promise all super chats will be read. We're getting through as many subscriber comments as we can throughout the show. But if you give us a super chat, the contribution is appreciated and we will read your message 100%. And to all the subscribers out there, you have some excellent, excellent breakdowns, members only content from Wild Ute. We just released the much anticipated Georgia Tech live stream and analysis reaction. Slancha. And if you don't know the Georgia Tech drinking game, you will definitely have to watch that video and get a gist for it. But it was all fun and games, but there was some very, very solid info in there. And Georgia Tech has been a personal favorite of several members of the College Football Mafia team. And needless to say, without any spoilers, I don't think they fared as well as some other teams. However, they did better in some areas than I thought. So please support the channel, become a member, and you will get access to those videos before they go public. And there are more upcoming. Quick tease. I know for a fact he has plans to do Kansas to the Big Ten and Texas A&M to the Big Ten at some point in his series. And he will move on to the SEC and Big 12 and other.
That's insider information right there, folks.
Yep.
Look at that. He's the Adam Schefter of this.
Yes. No, but that I think that just as a fun experiment, he's going to do those for us. And to become a member.
Want to become a member of the College Football Mafia family? Simply select the Join button from our homepage. There are several options with their own unique benefits to choose from. You can also set yourself to auto-accept gifted membership by selecting the gift settings options as shown.
Absolutely. And also follow all of us. Our links are down here scrolling across in the description. Our fabulous contributors and different shows going on. All righty. We got some other friend. I see a comment. Do I have a starred comment here in chat somewhere? It's the Ryan Willie super chat. Well, I'm still disappointed that beer is only sold in premium seating area, Ryan. So cheers again. I'll have to drink up now. Alrighty. I've completely lost my place. Apologies.
You know what? You're fine because it's so shocking to know that Wisconsin doesn't sell beer.
Yes, I think it's scrambled our brains to know that those two things are somehow separate.
That doesn't seem like it's I'm
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed in Wisconsin. There's like more bars. There's more bars than people per capita.
Yeah.
Can't get a
Joe
drunk.
Burke wanted us to know real quick that SDSU best program on the West Coast. UCLA fans would be coming for you if they were any, but SDSU is a very, very good team. It'll be pretty exciting to watch them. I'm planning on getting more into basketball. Bear with me, but I love seeing teams that have a West Coast connection or just some connection to myself. And the tournament's always exciting at the end, even for people who know nothing about the sport. Ryan, yet again, Moen mentioned bow down, jump around as a rivalry. Needs a little work, but I like where your mind's at. I like the brainstorming there, Ryan.
I mean, if we beat Wisconsin, if we call it, we could call it we beat Washington State, but they didn't fulfill their obligation for that.
Yeah, we need. I want it to be kind of in the style of. I know there's the Floyd of Rosedale and the Oak and Bucket, and there's all these kind of like old timey, kind of cool, traditional Big Ten trophies. My favorite is still what is it? The $5 bits of broken chair, in Minnesota, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Correct me in chat. I might be a total idiot.
If they're wrong there. Yeah.
It's something like Nebraska, Minnesota is the $5 bits of broken chair. I want something stupid like that. I want it just to be ridiculous, but it to make perfect sense. My contribution for random one, I still think Maryland, Washington should be the crab bowl. And we just have a big old bucket of crab for the winner, either Dungeness or Maryland blue crab. That's my thought on that one.
That's a good one too. We can also, mix in some like, horseshoe crabs or gooey duck just because.
Something. Yep. Seafood extravaganza. I will leave this one to you because, again, hoops not my forte, but who is on the coaching hot list for Washington for the men's basketball team?
There's a few guys. I mean, there's rumors out there. Somebody's already supposedly interviewed from a team that's possibly going to the tournament. There's a nice rumor that Washington State's head basketball coach is on their list.
I've seen him on several teams' short lists of candidates.
And the reason why it keeps coming up is because, like DeBoer, he has a contract in front of him but has not signed it. So we'll see how that goes. Washington State, I guess, is handed him a contract or is like really close, and he's still like, no. I would, if I was anybody who's a fan of like a Mountain West basketball school, I might be worried. That's probably where they're going to end up. Like the guy at Sprinkle at Utah State, I think, is my personal choice. That's the one I would hire. That school returned no points from last season, and they're in first place in the Mountain West. So that's a pretty big deal.
It's pretty incredible stuff.
Coach,
yeah. There's definitely. I used to love the model of you see coaches at a lower level doing more with less, and those are the guys who deserve power jobs. We see more and more, it seems like power programs or, perceived power programs robbing one another, like the DeBoer thing. I would, I don't think anyone really begrudges a G5 coach that does well and moves up to a power university. You don't get a lot of sour grapes with that, maybe a little bit from their own fan base, but it's been completely cutthroat recently. Like if you got the money, they'll take anyone. Yeah.
That's why I'm like, if you're just willing to spend an extra like $1 million, your coach isn't safe. Like, let me just say this out loud. And the only schools where you can say your coach is safe would be a blue blood, unless a blue blood is looking for a coach.
Yeah.
Because we've obviously seen like Lincoln Riley get taken from Oklahoma. And, Chip Kelly got grabbed. The UCLA is not a blue blood in football, but Chip Kelly was able to quickly go be a coordinator at Ohio State. So you're not safe.
Smile on his face, which is not how he was at UCLA.
I guess they interviewed him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm in a much happier place now." And I'm like,
"Yeah,
what?" Like, I guess he just didn't like the culture, or that's what I keep saying. Something was going on at UCLA behind the scenes we did not know about.
You had to be
happy to be gone.
When he stepped into a fairly low pressure situation, there's pressure at Ohio State, but compared to at UCLA, everything was on him. He's Atlas carrying the world. At Ohio State, he's expected to put on a competent offense, but everyone knows this is Ryan Day's make or break year. This is put up or shut up time, and you better beat Michigan and have a good season with how you're projected going into it.
Yeah, and Sooner in Texas. Sorry, I mentioned his name because I don't fear Lincoln Riley.
Oh, was I muted there? Apologies.
Yeah,
I have
I thought it was me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was my best thought ever, and I totally missed it. No, I apologize. I have 2 newborn infants at home, and my wife is patiently handling them as best as she possibly can, so I can do this this crazy show of ours. So thank you to my wife. But we're with you on the Lincoln Riley hate train, but for different reasons. I think you're not a fan because of how it's more just kind of a ha-ha thing because he really can't. He doesn't have the Huskies number. He really can't figure it out. So
yeah,
we will join you in wishing for his downfall one way or another.
I think we're more like the 4 schools out west, or the 3 schools that have played him are like, okay.
Yeah. I know he can recruit, and I know he can make quarterbacks into Heisman winners, which is awesome. Yes. That's a great skill. That doesn't necessarily make you a top program winning head coach.
Yep.
You know, it is what it is. Our friend preseason champs OHIO have the Ohio State. I'll do that just for you because you are a friend of ours. Have any of the new 4AD presidents said they won't host Friday games? To my knowledge, no. I mean, that's for Oregon and Washington. That's part of the deal. And like we said before, our perspective is we're coming from the Pac-12 media deal, which was crap, and having to play 7 p.m. games on the Pac-12 network or ESPN with no East Coast viewership whatsoever. So this is still an upgrade. Yes, we're getting half share. Yes, we're getting put into not as good a TV slots as, Big Noon. We're not going to be on Big Noon every week. It's all perspective. It is a step up from where we were. And in time, we'll be a full-time member. We'll still take late games, but we're West Coast. Like, that's our window. It's okay. It's still a step up for us.
And when we say 7 p.m. games, we're talking 7 p.m. Pacific.
Yes.
Nobody's like to get 1.4 million, 1.5 million, 1.8 million viewers on a Friday night that's great. We're definitely losing out on like 1.5 million to 2 million. So
yeah, Pac-12 viewership still a thing. It is, but it's about as bad as you would expect. In fairness, Sooner in Texas, so can't fault you on that one. But in honesty, like other than the SEC and Big Ten, all of the ACC network. I don't believe Big 12 has a network, but all of the second and third tier games, there's a massive drop off. Like that's still true with any conference.
And we got to be honest. I don't know how many people actually could have watched the Pac-12 network. Like,
I couldn't get it on my local TV package until I cut the cord and went to pure streaming. Then it was available somehow. So It was easier for people outside of the West Coast to get it just on some, generic streaming package than it was for actual fans of these teams. Yeah, it was a crapshoot from the beginning, and we've seen the results now.
Yeah, I have YouTube TV and don't get it. So, and Comcast, you could get it with Comcast, but you had to pay like more.
Yeah, looking ahead to some of those contract talks, I think a huge one we've been focusing on is CFP format, but Ross Dellinger had a series of articles this week specifically about the CFP money breakdown. And to me, this is another bargaining chip that the Big Ten and the SEC, the dubbed evil empire, are trying to bargain with. And they're demanding something in the range of 58% of the CFP revenue, and ACC and Big 12 split 32% between them, and Notre Dame gets 10%. As a per team breakdown, that's $23 million to the SEC, a couple less teams, $21 million to the Big, $13.7 to the ACC, $12.3 to the Big 12, more teams, that's why it's less, $10 to Notre Dame, and roughly $2 million per G5. That's a huge gap. That's basically double. I don't know about you, but we've all been worried. Like the threat of breakaway has been there, but if that's really what they wanted, they would have just pulled the cord and done it. So clearly they want the CFP or some form of partnership with these other conferences to continue, what do you think they hope to gain out of throwing their weight around, both in trying to get extra CFP slots and then trying to get more money for them?
It's just simply to gain the viewers. It's all about viewers. Like, everybody said it, like, the contract's going to be up in 7 years. Guess what they want to make sure they can go into there with? Both conferences. Guess what? We have all the viewers. And by essentially robbing the other conferences of their opportunities to be in that, they can go in there and essentially manipulate the data to show, hey, we have the viewers. When in reality, you turn two conferences that were at one time considered your equals into one bid conferences. So it's just kind of like, I'll be honest, a little lousy. And you're muted. You're still muted.
I think I'm okay now.
Yep, you're good now.
And of course, you can hear my newborn immediately chime in. Yeah, bear with me, people. That's just the life of being a young parent. But yeah, I think it's definitely, I think they're just kind of putting their chips out there and throwing their weight around. And that's been the opinion the whole time. These people saying, oh, wave their hands in the air. Oh, break away. They're going to become a league. Maybe down the road that happens. Anything's possible. And I'm prepared to look like an idiot for not getting it right. But I don't think it's anytime soon, because they have the ability to do it right now. The SEC and Big Ten can walk away from the table and go do their own thing, but they're not. They're specifically staying. They understand the value of these other conferences. That doesn't mean they're not trying to extract every dollar for themselves that they can. So just understand that. Like, the Big 12 and ACC have value. It is less than the other two. We get that. It's who calls whose bluff first. And credit to Brett Yormark. I saw this included in the second Dellinger article. He had a follow-up later on. Yormark wants a look-in provision in 2028 for this new agreement based on future realignment. So basically, it's more or less my understanding an ability to renegotiate if the Big 12 adds more teams, because it's been widely speculated they may take a Pitt, Virginia Tech, they may feed off of the ACC pending a Clemson or Florida State or Miami exit. And that does shift the balance of power. It wouldn't make sense at that point to give the Big 12 the same proportion as the ACC. So I think that's really, really smart of him to choose his battles wisely for the Big 12 and understand that his position is probably, subject to change at a later date.
I think he's just like you said, it's looking at the landscaping and going, okay, we all know what Florida State's doing. It's public knowledge. He may have, I think he knows something we don't know, and maybe it involves another school or two in the SEC or the ACC. So could involve a school in the Big 12. Like I said, we have no idea what's going on. I just think, and I say this, Florida State suing to get out of a grant of rights, essentially, or whatever it is they're looking to get out of, that allows them to be free. This isn't the best thing for every single conference. Like, being a little honest, a little blunt, it gives your school the ability to get out of this for a price. And as we all know, schools get sometimes, oh, look, we made it this far. We get a little bit of an inflated ego. We want out. And they'll sue to get out. And you could destroy, as much as, we keep saying, oh, the Big 12 is probably going to be the one that stays around longer than the ACC. It just takes a Kansas or Utah, somebody to go, nope, we want more money. We want out of this, and then they're suing us out of it. So
the Big 12 position, I mean, the perceived strength of them has always been that their members are on fairly even footing. That's why they ended up where they are. And people make fun of that because it's like, oh, you've been the cast-offs and the left behind, but they still have value. They're still solid. And I think less risk of being ripped apart by other conferences, because in some ways it's already happened. That gives you a stability that's worth something. The TV partners know what they're getting. They're not, they can bet on the Big 12 and realize that it's going to be in the same or better place in a decade or so. And that's absolutely worth something. And our friend Ryan, again, chiming in with his Wisconsin beer conundrum. Students are notoriously late. I can only assume
I wonder why.
Yeah, I can only assume the implication is that they have their adult beverages, cheers, elsewhere, and get around just in time for the band at halftime. Who knows?
But
yeah,
Washington State University is a notorious party school.
Yes.
Their fraternities and sororities are not allowed to have alcohol anymore.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear to get a feel for the vibe of each university going forward, because they've been our Rose Bowl rivals in the past, but you don't really know kind of what they're about. For people who don't know, Washington State and Arizona State were the party schools in the Big 12, Pac-12. Unquestioned, those were the two party schools. Thank you so much again, Ryan, your contribution. It really does help the show. And our friend Rock and Rant, $1.99 super chat. When do we get a theme song played on the piano? Give me about 5 years and piano lessons, and I will play something for you on the piano. But thank you so much. And go ahead and pick us a theme song.
Wait. You have twins. They get one of the. You have a 50-50 shot at one of them being a piano prodigy. They could probably learn it next week.
I don't know if that's how statistics works, but it's worth a try.
Worth it. Let's put a piano in front of the two kids and see which one plays it first.
I do have a boy and a girl, so very different minds in that way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rock and Rant, for the super chat. It's interesting times we're going into here. Tony Lashin, everyone can drink in Minneapolis. The rich, the poor, go Gophers. Well,
it's not wrong.
As long as the beer's cheap. It is definitely not here in Seattle. That is a fatal flaw with Husky Stadium, I will admit. But thank you.
You know what? Husky Stadium is still cheaper than going to a Mariners game or a Seahawks
The Kraken
game.
is by far the most expensive.
Kraken is I don't know how anybody spends $15 for Coors Light.
As you can see, I have multiple hockey jerseys. I'm a very big hockey fan, very Big Ten-ish. Hey, but you can get a beer this size. This is a larger can for about $20 at a Kraken game. They're not cheap.
No. By the way, those are the same prices for concerts at the arena for like the WWE or the AEW, everything at the Climate Pledge Arena. That's what it costs. But when the NCAA tournament's here, they'll do it. Also, I do want to point out they have the Amazon Go store inside all of the stadiums.
It's convenient, but it's no cheaper. That's the only problem.
No, but it's more convenient because it's like I feel like I'm stealing the beer.
No,
I don't mind.
Maybe so. It's
my
a cathartic
later.
feeling, despite the fact that you're the one being robbed.
Yeah.
Our friend Sooner in Texas, Oklahoma Memorial went through the same thing. We cut out the beer because higher ups didn't want drunk students at the game. I mean, it's not unexpected depending on what the makeup of your fan base is coming to games. UW student section has been notoriously fickle. There's a large contingent of, I would say, families and older folks coming to games. When the Huskies do well, the stadium fills up. But, it's generally considered a fairly family-friendly environment if you stay out of certain sections of the stadium. So I don't know if that's really been a problem up here, maybe as much as other places.
I like to tell people, I'm like, this is Seattle. It's Washington State.
Yeah.
All of everything we have in place as a law is just so we can do things legally.
Yeah. It's true.
Alcohol is one of those things where
every place has their flaws, but thankfully that's a positive we have going for us.
And everybody knows, like, it's Washington. You can drink. We don't measure very often. Most bars out here don't measure like liquor. They don't measure it. It's a pour. There's no such thing as a double at most places in Seattle or the surrounding communities. So
we do not encourage over drinking or drinking and driving. I am drinking in the safety of my own home. Just want to make that clear.
And I will say this.
Thank you, Timothy Green, for the Georgia Tech shout out.
Yes, Georgia Tech. And if you're not 21, we do not condone that. You must be 21 unless you're from Canada. Then you can be 19. And, or if you're 19 and in Canada and an American citizen, you can do that.
Yeah. Our friend Moon our friend Mooncat, if I'm not mistaken, they allow beer sales at Mountaineer Field in order to keep fans from being so drunk going into the stadium. There is a pro and con to it. When I was there in the 80s, we got loaded before the game. If they're expensive tickets, I don't like to drink as much because then I feel like I wasted my money if I don't remember half the game. So maybe if they're cheap seats.
I can say I got too drunk one time to enter a Seahawk game.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I had to stand outside the stadium, and I missed half the first quarter while trying to sober up to go in. So
yeah, it's definitely a different crowd depending on the sporting event. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Sooner in Texas, Yormark is a sharp dude. Wish he was following OU to the SEC. I mean, you've got the mafia leader of all mafia leaders, the hitman extraordinaire, and Greg Sankey. I really don't know. I'm not a big particular fan of the way a guy does business, but there's no arguing he's not effective.
I mean, like, he's smart. Yormark is smart. He's coming across. He's making all the right moves. I will say it took a lot of dumb luck on the Pac-12. It took some stupidity on the Pac-12 in order to come out like he's the smart guy, because had they just said, oh yeah, we'll take that 30 million or whatever it was, that's it. We're not talking about the Big 12 rating anybody today, right?
Yeah.
Probably talking about the ACC being rated by the Pac-12.
And in that similar vein, our friend Mooncat, friend of the channel, while somewhat counterintuitive, I'd like to grab Pitt, VT, and Duke basketball instead of UL. I'm not sure what UL is referring to.
Louisville.
Okay, gotcha. Because they're fans and Battery Story and Miami. This is some East Coast thing I don't know about.
I don't know about the Battery Story.
I don't know about the Battery Story.
I mean, I get
rivalry thing. More power to you.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why Mooncat labeled it spit. I get that. My favorite videos are the ones from this year where they're doing Sweet Caroline, and instead of Sweet Caroline, pardon my French, it's Eat Shit Pitt. And then it's
a family show.
Eat shit. Yeah. So, sorry for my language, but I thought that was the best thing.
We are just quoting West Virginia fans.
Yes, I quoted West Virginia fans inside Pittsburgh's own stadium and inside their stadium. It might have been theirs. I have no idea where the games played this year. It was still funny. I have friends
on a real note,
who love it. So
on a real note, I don't hate the idea. I think Duke is kind of the odd one out because they're Stanford, but just on the East Coast. They're the snooty, we're special, we care about basketball. They play football and they have some good seasons. It's not me talking trash on Duke or anything like that. Their student body is low. Their alumni base, although very wealthy, is also low. So there's secondary factors to consider. And I may be stuck in my mind that I think all the private school ACC end up sticking together, including a Stanford and Cal. Duke would be an awesome basketball ad if they're swayed by the fact that they'd be joining the Big 12. But I think what Yormark would have to do is prove that he has a path to making basketball a true revenue generator in a way that it isn't now, in order to convince a Duke that coming to the Big 12 is worth giving up all the other connections that they have already existing in the ACC, because there is something to be said for the value of existing relationships.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I'm like, Duke, we could just say every conference has this rich private school. Big Ten has Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
The Pac-12 had Stanford, obviously. The ACC had Duke. The SEC
and Wake Forest to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, and then the SEC has Vanderbilt. The Big 12 is the one. They're Big 12 is the only one that didn't have a snooty private school. Instead, they had Texas.
They have private schools, but they're all in. I mean, your TCU and Baylor are not. They're not bad schools. That's not what we're saying.
They're just not. They're not a Stanford level. Like, they're not like, oh, we could almost be an Ivy League. That's not Baylor and them. But
no. But they also care about their football in a way I don't think Stanford does.
Yeah, but that's why I had to take the jab with Texas, because that's the thing that people who I know who went to Big 12 schools say all the time. Texas and Austin is kind of a sweet little place.
Our good friend Mooncat with the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Becky, this is for you knowing that.
Hey, I have one of my best friends. She went to Pitt. She's a lawyer here in Seattle. She went to Pitt. Another friend of mine is also, he's a former public defender here in Seattle, now works for the prosecutors. He went to Pitt. And we talk about this stuff all the time because I think it's the best rivalry that doesn't get talked about because they don't play each other anymore.
Yeah, was any combination because I'm a college football historian a little bit, and I know any combination of West Virginia, Pitt, Virginia Tech, and Cincinnati, those are some deep old school rivalries that have a lot of hate, and that combination in the Big 12 would be awesome for casual fans to watch.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to we're going through it. We're going to get through as many chats as we can before we end here, guys. You've kept it so much fun and kept the chat really moving today. But this is going to be a last call. If you have any really big comments or things you want us to react to, or just some shade to throw to other fan bases like our friend Mooncat, enjoying the suffering of Pitt fans. This is the last call for chat. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here, all our subscribers and people who have supported the channel.
We'll do the 1 minute trash. We'll do 1 minute of trash talk near the end. We'll just read your trash talk out loud. It's not a reflection of us because your name's on it, but we'll read your trash talk to whatever school you want, including
absolutely
ours. So let's hear it. Let's hear your best stuff.
I will volunteer to be a shameless shill. I will say bad things about my own school as long as it's a super chat, and it cannot violate YouTube terms of service. Yes. That's my other thing.
G-rated, please. G-rated.
Yes, this is a family channel. We made an exception for you, Mooncat, because we know how much you hate Pitt.
Yes.
Our friend Nathan Camel, do you think OSU and WSU, I'm assuming that means into the Big 12?
Yeah, Nathan redid it. Let me say this, because I know somebody who physically has been sitting in the room with Schultz and them having their meetings about everything. They have not heard. The Wazoo has not heard from the Big 12 since August. Yeah. So let me just say this. The Big 12 told them in August, we have zero. We're not expanding.
That could change in a hurry, though, depending on the situation.
Yeah. Correct. They didn't say at this time. They just said we're not expanding. So maybe that's changed, and I'll check in. I'll check in with that person again here soon to see if they know anything, because they are physically still sitting in all of these meetings. The only thing I don't get any privy to is what's been going on with CFP stuff, because Schultz only briefs the OSU president and now the commissioner.
Yeah, absolutely. Becky is our wizard insider. I'm just an idiot talking with a bunch of jerseys behind me. I know nothing. I just try and pontificate about college football as best I can.
I will say this: if you're a Wazoo or OSU fan, or if you're a fan of the Big 12 and you want Wazoo and OSU in your conference, watch their games. That is the only thing I can tell you. Elevate the views. Wazoo gets a ton of views in the Seattle area. They really do. Oregon State got a ton of views this last season. They were ranked, and just watch their games. If you want them in your conference, watch their games. Elevate them.
That's another opportunity for us to shamelessly plug our subscriber members only videos. You're able to see them before anybody else, before they go public. They're from Wild Ute. He does amazing analysis, and he has assured me he is going to do Wazoo and Oregon State to the Big 12 just as a purely on paper, by the numbers analysis, as minimum bias as possible. And from those of us who are in the know, Washington State pulls good TV numbers, even accounting for the fact of who they play.
Yes.
They really do. And I understand there's a lot of other reasons why they may not get invited. I get that, but it won't be because they have no fans and no one cares.
They were a top, upper half in terms of viewers. Their value is where it is because that's what it is.
Yeah. Our friend Sooner in Texas, just for you. Always take a jab at Texas. Horns down.
No, I'm not doing the horns down.
I'll do it just for our friend participating in chat.
Horns down.
Beautiful, right here.
Yeah.
Sugar ball.
It's so glorious.
We lost the championship. Otherwise, I'd have that T-shirt up. I don't want to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about that. I'm just glad.
We're not going to talk about it. That was a rough game.
Just glad I didn't make the trip.
But no shame in losing to the national champion, but a feather in our cap to finally win a college football playoff game. Thank you again, Sooner in Texas, for your comments and being in chat today. Timothy Green, horns down. I got you both, man. There's so much Texas hate, and I don't think it's going to stop just because they're in the SEC. This is a universal phenomenon.
You know what? So much hatred for the Longhorns. Oh, like, is there a Longhorn fan like watching? Get in this. Like, let's hear some trash. Like,
I have been told by people that they are the USC of the South. They are the team that everyone loves to hate because they think they're very special.
I'm like, do we hate USC?
And funny enough, they were down for a decade.
Wait, hold on. Do we honestly hate USC out here?
I don't hate USC, but they think they're more special than they are.
Well, their fans definitely think that.
They've been hanging out with Notre Dame too much. They think they are special. They're a very good team, historic, great program. I'm a Washington fan. I have no hate for saying USC is the most historically accomplished program on the West Coast. They think they're more special than that.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, I get it. I understand. I get where they're coming from, but at the same time, like, I don't really.
Ryan, I'm glad you got after it before you make your way into a game, friend.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. And with that, Ryan sent us another super chat. So thank you, Ryan.
Tony, having some fun with our other Big Ten friend, Tony Lashin, who is a Minnesota Golden Gopher. That was a terrible accent. Please don't judge me for it. Tony, when's the last time Minnesota won the Little Brown Jug before 1980?
Minnesota, eh?
Accents are not my forte for sure. I'll leave them up to Becky if you want to have a go.
My family, I'll just give this little nugget. My grandfather went to Minnesota. He grew up in Gaylord, Minnesota. So
there you go. Outstanding.
Gaylord, Minnesota. That's, small town nowhere. So yeah, like all of my mom's relatives talk like that.
We got you guys for all the Texas hate.
There's so much Texas hate. Oh my gosh.
I know that there were a lot of secondary fans, maybe not cheering for Washington, but against Texas. At the very least, from what I've hoped moving conferences, you don't have to love Washington. Just don't hate us.
Yeah.
Just hate Oregon more. They deserve it. We're just trying to be normal, kind of neutral. We'll talk a little smack, but not go crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's always little jabs. You have to have the little jabs. I mean.
Yes, absolutely.
It is what it is. I mean, but it's still Oregon. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I think we'll definitely end it with that super chat, Ryan. Thank you so much for the $5 contributing to the channel. It absolutely helps, and you're a member of College Football Mafia as well. You guys have no idea what it takes to run this thing on the back end, and truly all of your super chats and subscriptions, it helps so much. Thave you for the
Trash Talk Minute.
The Trash Talk Minute. We'll have to have a Trash Talk Minute along with our Mountain West Minute. We've already gone an hour 17, and man, it has been a lot of fun. Timothy Green complimenting us on West Coast oysters to Timothy, his local Walmart in West Virginia.
Do you guys get gooey duck out there?
Yeah, if you've never seen a gooey duck, Google it. You'll have some nightmare fuel, but they are delicious if
they're
cooked
good.
Correctly.
It is, if it's made properly, it's really, really good. And I don't like raw oysters or clams or anything. You wouldn't want to eat that raw anyway. We cannot put it on here because it's a little phallic. But yeah, Google it. It's spelled
other than your
GEO, by the way. GEO. Gooey duck is spelled GEO duck.
Yes, it is spelled geoduck for some peculiar reason.
Geoduck, but pronounced gooey. I don't know why.
So other than your particular thoughts on seafood, Becky, do you have any final thoughts here as we get ready to exit the show?
I think this Friday, I pay attention to everything this week. I think we're going to have some big stuff on Friday. Nate and the guys will do that. Bomber, Agute, Moen, and Immaculate. They're probably going to have some really good talking points on Friday with some really great news. I think I really think we're going to. This is a calm before the storm, and as we all know, we hate the off season, but this is why we like it, because we're going to get little nuggets like this.
Yeah, that was exactly my reason for the title of this episode being All Quiet on the Western Front. It's the calm before the storm. We know that things are coming. We just don't know when, and they could break, tomorrow, any day. So absolutely keep it posted here at College Football Mafia. The guys have awesome shows lined up tomorrow, Wednesday, and Friday. And, of course, the ever loved Mowing After Dark chats where the comment section gets absolutely out of control.
Yeah. Wow.
But thank you so much for joining us here at the Big West Mafia Show. Please subscribe and follow to us and College Football Mafia and all the other content creators whose links are listed down at the bottom. Turn on your notifications if there's any breaking news or any announcements we have on Twitter. And thank you for joining us. We're going to do this every single week, Mondays, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, even accounting for daylight savings times. Arizona people, I don't know what time it is for you. Figure it out. It's 8 Pacific.
I think if you're on the Navajo reservation, it's an hour ahead, but now they're back. Everybody else is in Pacific Standard Time. So.
All righty. So yeah, every single Monday we're bringing to you our very peculiar West Coast take on college football. Thank you so much. This has been an awesome show. We've had over 200 live viewers, and chat has been absolutely off the rails. Apparently, if I pander to the anti-Texas crowd, I get a lot of love. But we're just here to have fun and talk ball with fans of every single fan base. So thank you once again, and I hope to see you next week on the Big West Mafia Show.